So an update on the home gym, and the squat rack is finally complete. I've moved it from the other side of the garage, largely due to the fact that this is where the only light is, and on the basis that I'm going to be using it over winter. Winter months are coming up, and therefore I'm usually going to be training in the dark before or after work. Having a little bit of light is probably a good idea from a safety aspect, but it's now fully constructed, moved into place. I've also got the bench built as well. Always with these things, it takes double the amount of time that you expect them to. So I was expecting to do the bench in an hour, took me 2, but nonetheless it is completed. So I've got the bar across it, we've got the collars, and then on each side I have the weights. So down the bottom I've got a 25 and a 20. I have a 15, a 10, a 5, 2 2s, 1 1 and a 0.5, and the reason for that is because with that combination of weight I can go up in I can go up in 1 kilogram increments all the way from 1 to 10. So that's the reason why there's 2 2s, and that seemed to be the cheapest way of doing it without going via 1.25s or 2.5 weights. Yeah, I thought that was the cheapest way to do it. So that is the squat rack set up. So I can finally start using it for, well, anything to do with squats. Bench press, obviously, are the 2 main ones that I'll be using it for. Also, when doing deadlifts, I can use these to start off the weight, put weights on the bar, and then do deadlifts from there. Naturally, I'll have to move the bench out the way in order to do that. But other features of the gym is the medicine ball hiding in the corner down there, 3 kilograms to support with power stuff. I also have some adjustable dumbbells down here, and I also have a bag of ropes and pulley things just to support with some resistance training. The plan hopefully is, I think I'm going to get a pulley at some point to do some essentially mimic a cable machine, but I need to have some thought as to how that's going to work, because I'm going to have to design and make my own, because the ones that you can get are too tall to fit in this garage. So yeah, that's why I went with this setup. So final thing remaining of the kit that I've got to construct is the and it's hidden behind all the other rubbish that's in the garage, is the pull-up / chin-up bar. That's going on the side of the house, so I'll show you that. However, you know, having set the squat rack up, that just enables me to do a whole load more exercises away from the gym. So before, where I was only able to do dumbbell stuff, I can now do barbell stuff, pretty much all the barbell stuff that you can imagine. So I've pretty much doubled the number of exercises that I can do, and it just saves me a whole load of time because I can now do them from home. So just to catch you up on my post-nationals training, straight back into it on Monday morning with a gym session. I felt that I wanted to get back into the gym because the previous week, the week before nationals, I only did 1 gym session, and that was pretty lightweight, and therefore I just wanted to get back into the gym and make sure that I wasn't leaving it too long so that I would start losing muscle mass. So decent gym session on Monday morning. Then Tuesday, had to go into work, and so didn't have an awful lot of time, and because I hadn't yet set up my squat rack and bench, I did that in the evening. It meant that I was unable to do another gym session from home because I did all the stuff that I could do on Monday, and now that I've got the squat rack set up, I can essentially do another set of exercises, but then my 3rd day of exercises I will have to go to the gym because I do need a cable machine until I can get one set up there. However, doing 2 out of the 3 days from home isn't actually a bad shout, and when that chin up bar goes up, then you know I will have very few exercises to do in the gym, largely around cable machines. Hopefully I can get a pulley sorted relatively soon, and then who knows, maybe, you know, I can cancel that gym membership and do everything from home, which is kind of exciting. A little bit scary at the same time, because I put all this equipment together myself as an engineer. you know, you'd hope that I trust myself. I know how engineering drawings work, so fingers crossed I've made it all correct, and have tightened everything up so that nothing's going to fall apart. I think that's going to be the case. But yeah, there's just always that doubt in the back of your head when you do things yourself, which is, yeah, a little bit off-putting. But I'm pretty sure I've done it all right, and I've tightened everything up. I made sure to tighten everything up to essentially as tight as it would go. So yeah, I don't know what more I could have done. So I think everything's going to be integral. So the chin-up / pull-up bar is just a little bit more difficult because I've got to start drilling holes into the side of the wall. So yeah, that's going to be a new level of fun to this. But once I've got that up, then yeah, pretty much going to be doing all of my workouts from home, which is really exciting. Then this morning went for a swim, first swim since national, so had 2 days out of the pool. Did a 50 meters freestyle time trial and 100 meters freestyle time trial. The 50 was a bit slow. It was a high 31/32. I felt quite tired and fatigued, and kind of felt that was the reason for it. I wasn't able to go all that fast. However, in the 100, I actually went faster than I did the week before. And the reason for that is because I was really concentrating on my turns. That was my big takeaway from Masters Nationals on my 100. First off was clanging against either side of the lane rope. When I breathe, I seem to shift quite dramatically to the right when I breathe to the left-hand side. So that's something I'm going to have to consciously focus on in my next 100 metres freestyle race, which is less than 2 weeks away at South Yorkshire Masters, once again at Ponds Forge, so a chance at redemption for that. So looking forward to that, and hopefully by taking on board that learning from Masters Nationals, I can at least beat the time from Masters Nationals, if not go on and get a PB. And who knows, if I stay dead centre in the lane and do well off of all my turns, then fingers crossed, you know, I could be in with a very quick time indeed, or at least for myself. So I've got my fingers crossed in that sense. Just need to practice those aspects, not shifting so far to the right, so I go end up doing 102 meters as opposed to 100, and also nailing the turns, getting a good distance off it, because that seemed to be the biggest difference between me and my competitors in the 50 and 100 meters freestyle. They just go so much further off the wall than I do. Yeah, so that's something I very much need to practice, and was what I was practicing this morning in training. Other than that, just did a bit of a typical gala warm-up, 400 loosen, some kick, some fly kick practice, some turn practice, then mainly focused on those because I just want to get those skills right. I think this is going to be my main focus going forward. I think what I learned from nationals is that my fitness and my strength is in a very good place, and is as good as it pretty much ever has been, based on the fact that my 53 was 0.2 seconds off. My 100 free was about the same time as I did 2 years ago, when and just after that I went my short course personal best. Then also, what was it? Yeah, and I PB'd in the 200 meters freestyle. So obviously my endurance can't be that bad. I did that by focusing on turns. So dive, I think, went well. All the practice was worth it. Looking at everyone else, I was sort of there or thereabouts against everyone else off the dive. It was just the turn that let me down on the 50 and the 100 as well. So more discipline on the turns, making sure I get those right each and every time, I think is going to be the key to me dramatically reducing my 100 meters freestyle time at the very least. So that's going to be my key focus in swim training from now on, at least until the end of the year when I've got Europeans, just to make sure I swim well at those two events. Then we're probably going to be looking back into trying to put on some strength, increase my fitness, do, you know, the grunt work to ensure that, you know, I don't just stagnate in terms of time, because I'm going to have to improve at those things at some point, and those take a long while to improve. So I have to get on with it and do it, and it's just one of those things that you should be keeping on doing, ticking on in the background until it starts to come to competition time, or your big competition time where you look to taper. Just maintain and, you know, carry your speed through, where you're just looking to replenish energy levels so that you can swim fast on the actual day of your race. So that is currently the plan. Just a little bit of thought and reflection until the end of the year as to how I want to approach my training in 2026. However, very much looking forward for the South Yorkshire Masters meet, and then European Masters, which in Lublin, which are my two final events of 2026. Hopefully I can build on Masters Nationals. The one issue with Masters Nationals is that I only had 3 galas this year before that, and the one prior to that was mid-September, so I was waiting a month and a half. And so I don't really feel all that race conditioned in comparison to previous years. The benefit of doing lots of races is that you pick up what you're doing well, what you're not doing well in a race environment, where I just haven't had that. And as such, it just meant that I haven't had as many learning opportunities as I have, or at least as I had last year and in 2023 as well. So that's the plan. Hopefully I can start moving into a more frequent gala routine from next year, maybe one a month. Going to look at doing some more local, so that might mean some more age group meets, just to make it less of a burden when going to a gala, at least in terms of travel, and can be relatively close to home, so that I can not have massive commute times to galas. But yeah, fingers crossed I can compete a few more times next year. So a decent home gym workout this morning. As I said, now able to get 2/3 at least of my gym exercises done across my week's routine. So that's good, because I can now do 2 out of 3 gym sessions at home. A few bits that I need, pulleys and various things in the gym for still. So probably still going to go and do that on a weekend, but good to save a decent chunk of time, probably about 40 minutes across the space of a week in just commute time. Actually, it might be a bit more than that. It might be an hour and 20 in commute time. So that's really helpful and handy thing to do. Only thing I didn't do well today was front heels elevated squats. I don't like front squatting because it just really hurts. I'm not very good at holding the bar on my front as opposed to my back. So yeah, could only manage 4 and 3 reps of 65 when I was wanting to do 5 reps. Reason being is that my arms just got sore and hurt holding the bar. It wasn't actually due to fatiguing in my legs, which is a little bit frustrating. But yeah, that's front squatting. Not the biggest fan. And yeah, it sort of gets a while getting used to again. But nonetheless, able to lift just as heavy in all my other lifts at home. So a successful workout, and one that I'm very happy with. So final session of the week to tell you about is my club training session with East Leeds. Again, another opportunity to use the blocks and improve on my dives. However, looking back at all my races from Masters Nationals, the dives seem to be no longer the problem, or at least in comparison to the other competitors in my heat. The reaction times were pretty decent. There were no cases where I looked slow off of the blocks. And similarly, the distance that I travelled both across the dive and then under the water / where I surfaced didn't seem to be miles away from where everyone else was. Naturally, as the slower swimmer in comparison to everyone else, it was, you know, my dive is probably going to be, you know, not as good as everyone else's, but the relative difference as to where I surfaced and everyone else surfaced and how far I travelled with the dive and underwater didn't seem to be all that bad. So hopefully that's a sign that all the investment that I've done in dive practice over the past few months has paid off, and my dives are now relatively better than they were last year / before. The issue now seems to be with my tumble turns, where I just seem to lose so much distance on the other swimmers, not only on the 50 but on the 100 as well, and hence why on the 200 and 400 meters freestyle race at Nationals, My key focus was getting the turns as good as I could do them each time, and that paid off with a PB in the 200. I did get a PB in the 400, but at the same time I was expecting that, so because I haven't raced it all that much before, and therefore it was somewhat guaranteed, so long as I didn't do anything stupid. So I think that just goes to show that focusing on the tumble turns is my next priority, getting those right. It's a little bit hard to decipher what's exactly going wrong on the tumble turns, whether it's my rotation speed, whether it's I'm not pushing off hard enough from the wall, whether I'm not getting in a streamlined position quick enough when pushing off from the wall, which causes drag. But you can just see that the distance versus other swimmers when I go into the wall versus the distance when we surface / where we are coming out of the wall is so much greater, and as a result it's key that that's a fundamental part of where I'm losing time versus other swimmers. So I started focusing on that in the 50s. I started focusing on that in the training session last night, where I was doing 25 sprints to feet, and just seeing my time to touch the feet on the wall. Yes, that accounts for rotation speed and not necessarily the other two things, i.e. push off force or push off streamlinedness coming off, which I think is probably actually going to be where the key of the problem lies. It does actually help get a little bit of an understanding as to how quick I am to feet on the 25 versus touching with the arm. So that was one thing that I was concentrating on last night, and we'll be doing so over the course of the next week in the build up to South Yorkshire Masters. The other thing that I was looking at is hand entry. So one of my teammates spotted that I'm entering like this with my hand not flat, so it means that I'm sweeping out on my stroke before pulling down, something which I've actually noticed myself and have tried to correct. However, evidently I haven't done a good enough job in correcting it, so it's still an issue. So again, that was something that I was trying to correct, and it worked out well because I went from a 14.8 to feet on 125 to a 14.2 just by implementing a couple of just a couple of technique remarks. And it just goes to show how important getting your technique right actually is for swimming faster. And it almost seems to be the less you focus on intensity and the more you focus on getting the technique right, the better you swim. Because I think on my 50 and on my 100 free, I've been focusing on intensity, how fast do I go out, all those sorts of things, where I should really be instead focusing on technique, execution as much as I can, especially on the 100. A little bit more difficult on the 50 free, however you can do it off the dive, the underwaters and the tumble turn, and to an extent on the arm technique as well. I know you're just trying to get those arms over as quick as possible, but how your hand enters the water is also important as well. So a good session in that sense. It is now Friday afternoon / evening. No training session today, as when I do a club training session on Thursday, I always take Friday off. So that ends a half week of training. Obviously, video's not as long today because Masters Nationals took up Friday, Saturday and Sunday of this video, which would normally have been contained in here. But a decent response to Nationals, I think. Got the home gym set up, which is a win. And so hopefully it's onwards and upwards in here. And in a week's time, we've got South Yorkshire Masters, which I'm very much looking forward to. And fingers crossed I can get at least a PB in the 50 free, because I wasn't fresh going into that after the 200 and 400 at Nationals. So I'm thinking hopefully if I'm feeling a little bit more fit and fresh, then, we'll be good. That is it for today's video, and if you've enjoyed it, please give it a like. Remember to follow and subscribe for more swimming content, and to swim faster on limited training time, head on over to westcough.com. Otherwise, see you in the next video.